Welcome to Tuesdays with Terry right here at yarcoach.com. This is the place to create a healthy relationship with the teens and the tweens in your life. You know, when I wrote this book, The Identity Crisis of Parenting, I chose the cover of a calm person floating in water on purpose, and it's on our website too. And to me, when I was in the midst of parenting, with all the busyness that brings, I always imagined myself just falling back into a pool and being calm and wondering, when is that day going to come? Is it possible? And you know what? It would have been possible had I known the things that I'm sharing with you now, which is why I do what I do. So I know that to some of us, we identify with busyness and we identify with thinking that the busier I am with my kids, the more I'm speaking to my kids, the more I'm talking, the better off they are or the better parent I'm being. I know we're culturally taught that doing is better than being. So the number one thing that you can do to be the best possible, most effective parent is to know who you are. Now, that sounds like really woo-woo and la-la and simple, but really, most of us aren't taught to do that. And many of us, and I just spoke to a parent this week which brought this up, who said to me, I feel like my adolescent is teaching me and helping me go through my adolescent phase, which I never really went through effectively. And that's exactly right. And that's exactly great, because parenting, if you're paying attention, will help you to grow as a person like almost nothing else can. So, knowing who you are, and that's why in this book, on the website, on the Facebook page, you'll see that bullseye of how we grow. We start at infancy, we end at end of life, and the big ring in the middle is adolescence. And there's several stages and crises. And if you haven't gotten this book and read about them, I really, really recommend that you do. It's short, simple explanations with questions at the end. Not pass or fail questions, not right or wrong questions. Questions that allow you to think about where you are. If you don't know what life stage of development you're in right now, you're a little behind, I hate to say. And finding that out, most of you are in the middle adult stage and what that means and what it brings. So if you know who you are, then you can parent kindly, which is at your most powerful. This is the most powerful way to parent, is kindly. And sometimes people think of kindly as weak or letting kids do what they want to do. It's not. You can be very effective and very strong and actually be kind, which is the most powerful position of parenting. You're your least powerful, we are, all of us, when we're sad. It's sad as a depletion. Sad brings us down. Sad has its purposes. When you're sad, that's okay. But if you're perpetually sad, you're going to be your least powerful in the parenting or grandparenting role. You hand over your power when you get to anger before you understand the underlying emotion behind the anger. That also is in the book. The anger cycle. It's really simple. You always feel something before you get to anger. And many of us think that anger is what creates a response from our kids, right? It's not. What creates the response is the kids know you and they know your point of action. If your point of action is, I've asked you to do this and now we're going to whatever, and you say that and they know that, they're going to do it. But if your point of action is increasingly building up to aggravation and then blowing up in anger, then they know that as well. So you hand all your power over, all of us, whenever we get angry or choose anger, not even as a choice, because it is a choice, and it's a good choice in some situations. Anger's made to get us away from danger. That's it, right? So if that's not the case, then question yourself and say, well, why am I angry? Am I hurt? Am I embarrassed? What am I feeling? And you're at your most wrecky. I call it wrecky because I felt like that a lot when I was parenting, when you're fearful. And right now we're in the middle of a global pandemic and fear is all over the place, man. I see it all over. It's not necessary to wade through all of the things that are happening worldwide. Fear is not necessary. And a lot of fear back at home in your home, in your cultural circles, your familial circles, comes from the question of what do they think? Okay, if you're going to be a dynamic character in your own life, and the times are changing, and they are. If you had it in your head that your kid was going to go to this school for this many years and do this when they get out, you were going to go to this job and do this and retire and do this when you get out, you're going to have a certain kind of house and a certain kind of life, all that's sort of collapsing and changing, and it looks like we're being asked, well, what is it you're going to do with this life? Are you going to be stagnant, which in your middle adulthood stage is what you're deciding against? Am I going to be stagnant and just hang on to what I think? Or am I going to regenerate? Am I going to show some generativity that I can change, that I can flow with what's going on in life? So a lot of what stops that is the back of the mind thinking, what will they think? Well, if I take the kids out of school, or if I do this, or if we move it to a different, or if I take a different job, what will my mom think? What would they think of me at church? My temple sisters don't think that's a good idea. Whatever. And that's kind of back of mind. We don't always realize it. We like to think we're fiercely independent, but a lot of times what other people think of us, especially as parents, and I could totally relate to that. I was super insecure about being a parent, and was I doing it right? And it always looked to me like somebody else was doing it better. So you're at your most powerful when you're kind. You're at your most wrecky when you're fearful. And what I'm going to ask you to do today is take a look at what you're thinking that keeps you in fear, possibly, that keeps you from changing. The world swirling around is changing. Things are being built, things are collapsing, and you want to be a dynamic character in the story of your own life. Dynamic characters change. They don't just stay the same. They change with what's going on around them. So I'm going to ask you today to take a look at yourself and ask yourself, what is it that would change, that would make me less fearful, less angry, less apt to be sad, more kind to myself and to my kids and to the people around me. Thanks for being with me here today on Tuesdays with Terry. Let some of that soak in and resonate. If you haven't gotten the book, it's a really good time to read this book. And there are other videos on www.yarcoach.com that you may find helpful. Take some time for yourself. Take some time to get to know yourself. And until next Tuesday, have a blessed, blessed week. Thanks so much for joining me here. See you next time.